We're back, and thank you for joining us for Paths to Power. We're looking for your questions as well. We have the Ask a Question button. Hit that on your screen. Type in your question and send it along. We'd love to hear from you and include you in this discussion. Our next guest is Nora Campos, who's Assembly member from the 23rd District, which is the San Jose area of California. Thank you for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the name of today's webcast, an online meeting, is Paths to Power. So we wanted to have an opportunity. We've talked to the chair of the caucus, Ricardo Lara, and he told us a little bit about what he's doing and how he got there. We wanted to track your path to power, how you got involved and now you're in the legislature. Tell us a little bit about what got you involved in politics at the local level, because you were a city council member, weren't you?
For 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I served on city council for 10 years. Actually, I think my story starts from my parents. My father was an activist. He actually had the opportunity. He was a United Auto Worker.
Wow.
And my mother is an educator, elementary school teacher. And my father had the opportunity, and I do say opportunity, to organize with Cesar Chavez through the United Auto Workers. And as a young child, my brother and I went along on a lot of those marches.
Really?
And actually had an opportunity to go to different places with my father and my mother. And so we were exposed to leadership and activism and involvement at a very young age.
How did that shape your view? I mean, of course it's going to, but you know, through the eyes of a child, I mean, you have a different view of these things. What did it teach you as a kid?
It taught me that we as individuals sometimes have to use our voice for those that don't have a voice. Mm-hmm. And to understand the political system, understand government and how it works. But what it taught me as I matured, that in order to make real change within your community, you needed to be a part of the system. So that gave me an opportunity to think about how I wanted to move forward. And so I worked for someone that was running for city council and actually worked on the campaign.
Oh, wow.
And he got elected, and then I was offered a position in his office. And then he went on to the assembly, and I ran for his seat and got on the city council. And
First time?
First time.
That's
and
good.
Actually, what's interesting is that it was I won in the primary.
Really?
With 3 other men.
Really?
I was the only woman, and I won in the primary, so I didn't have to go to a general. And I attribute that to working the hardest and really wanting to serve my community.
So who were the people that said, oh, that's a great idea, and who were the ones that said, oh, you know, either it's not your time or you don't want to do that? Tell us about the people that lined up.
So what's interesting is that I have to say that when I was approached to run for city council, I was the one that questioned that.
Really?
Even though I had lived in the community, I had the skill set, and I actually went to one of my mentors from afar. She actually wasn't a mentor that groomed me. I, as a woman, seeked out someone that I thought was very powerful and just watched her career. And went to her, and she made some comments that were very powerful to me. And she said, have you ever thought that maybe you have been groomed for this your whole life? And that's all I needed to hear.
And how long did you serve on the council?
10 years.
And how did your participation, what was the makeup of the council when you were on it?
When I was first on it, it was myself and another Latina, and we had a Latino mayor at that time. My last 4 years that I was on the council, I was the only Latino on the council.
Now, San Jose is the
10th largest city in the United States.
In the United States?
Yeah,
Oh,
with
wow.
a population of a little over 30% of Latinos that live and reside in San Jose.
First of all, it's a great city, by the way.
Thank you.
Great mass transit system.
It is, and actually, that's another thing that I was able to accomplish on the city council that I'm very proud of, bringing public transportation to East San Jose, which is predominantly Latinos, which we did not have access to that.
Yeah, when you ask for directions in San Jose, they always direct you to public transit, which is a sign that you've got a good system working.
Yes, we do.
So then you decided to move into state government, and again, what was the motivation there?
What was the motivation was the fact that my constituents felt that I had done such an excellent job. And what was interesting, we have term limits in San Jose, and they said, they said, well, we want you to stay. And I said, well, I can't because there are term limits. But what I will do, if this is something that you still think that I should be doing, serving you, is I'm going to run for the Assembly. And so I had a lot of support by the time I ran for the Assembly.
Well, we have a question from Texas.
Actually, my family's from Texas.
Really? What part?
The Rio Grande Valley.
Oh, wow.
My parents came out to California, and I thank them for that.
And if that's, the California legislature is a good place to be. There are other legislatures that can be interesting. So the question from Texas is, what college classes, majors or minors, would you recommend somebody take to prepare them for career in politics?
You know, I think, a lot of people go into political science, but I also think that what you need to do is also go out into the real classroom, and that is get involved in a campaign, do an internship in City Hall, or anything that will expose you to the real people. You can learn theory, and what's interesting is that I have always made space for people to do internships in my office, and everyone that has learned theory always says, you don't learn this in a textbook.
Right.
And they're absolutely right, because hand-on experience and hand-on knowledge is something you're not going to learn in a textbook.
So what do you look for in an intern when they come to you?
Actually, I look for things that most people probably wouldn't think that I would look for. Someone that is eager, motivated, committed, because I think you can learn everything else, but you can't learn the passion and the desire to serve your community.
So with 3 members of the caucus, of the 23 members of the Latino caucus being Latinas, what could the caucus do? What could other people do to try and get that number to shift and get more people, more Latinas involved? I mean, that's what Hope is here for.
Absolutely.
Is to talk about that. But how do you get more people involved? How do you get them to take those steps that you took?
Well, I think what you need to do more than anything is tell women, and Hope is doing that right now, is that they are prepared. If they've taken all the steps that I kind of outlined earlier, and they are prepared, there never really is a good time to run. I mean, I'm a mother of a 3.5-year-old. So I'm here full time, and I'm a mother full time. And so I think that we make excuses within ourselves. So I think that if you are prepared, take that step and run, whether it's for the Assembly, City Council, or school board. But I really would recommend that you start at home first. I have to say the fact that I was on local government for 10 years really did prepare me to be able to hit the ground running when I got here.
So what did you find when you got here? One of the big adjustments people have to make is, now how many members on the council in San Jose? Okay, so you went from being one of 10.
And a mayor.
And to being one of 80 or 120 if you want to stretch. What's the adjustment that you go from being a fairly important cog, and I'm not saying at 80 there aren't, but you're 1/10 of the vote.
Right.
What's the big adjustment that you had to go through when you got here and became one of 80?
Well, one of the things that I found to be very positive was that I was able to build relationships with people that had similar values and believed in a lot of the same things that I believed in, serving the community, making sure that all communities had access to resources. And so I build a strong alliance with members that have similar values. So we were able to use our resources collectively so that we could get our bills and our legislative agenda moving forward.
So in just a few minutes, what is your legislative agenda? What do you think is important, and what are you doing to make that happen?
So some of the things that I'm taking on this year are making sure that underserved communities have access to food, and that's a bill that I'm hoping that